Hello, Odyssey families. It's Josh Langman, behaviorist again. It is February, it's the middle of February of 2022. It's been a while since I posted something, but I want to compose a quick video about COVID testing for our students. Let's just get into the next slide because it's kind of the general, if I can, there we go. Let's sort of talk about what we're up against right now. So according to current guidelines, and again, this is mid-February 2022. If you're watching this in a month or two, it might be completely different. But right now, according to current guidelines, students may be subject to a COVID test prior to returning to campus. And what we're doing right now is I know that a lot of students are getting the in-home test. Some students are still getting tested at a clinic or a doctor's office. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, each one of those situations in a little bit. We understand that giving our students a test is difficult, and especially when it is a nasal swab like the COVID-19 antigen test. It's not pleasant for any of us. It's certainly not pleasant for any of our students, especially when we can't communicate to them what's going on. But we're going to talk about some of the things that we can do to prepare them. And that's that last sentence. We're collecting some resources to assist you prior to and during the COVID testing. The links are in the description. We'll talk about the links in a second. General strategies. And, if you watched any of the rest of my videos or just, from ABA in-home programs or just the history of being in, a family with a child on the spectrum or young adult on the spectrum, preparation is the key. Having visuals, having social stories, having timers. Timers is one that it feels like, it might be a 15-second test, but, at 8 seconds on each one, some of our students really respond to a phone timer where they can see it's only 8 seconds, it's only 10 seconds. That might really work for them. The visuals, the social stories, you're going to know your student so much better than, just the general video like this. You're going to know your student. Utilize the things that we know work. Don't reinvent the wheel. Make it as clean as possible for you and make sure that you're using the supports that are going to be effective. Kind of with that, second bullet point is assess your students' ability to complete the test ahead of time. We know some of our students will not tolerate anything near their face or nose, so those students might be better served by testing in a clinic or doctor's office. So in some situations, we're doing in-home testing, the tests, the rapid tests that you can get, at CVS or Walgreens. But if you know that you can't get that swab of your student's nose, or you have concerns, maybe they engage in aggressive behaviors, self-injurious behaviors, or eloping, that they're going to try to get away from you, maybe it's better to take them to a clinic, take them to a doctor's office. We'll talk about that in a second, though. If you can, this is another one that's kind of hard, but desensitize your student ahead of any testing. So touch their nose. Some of our guys and gals are really sensitive to any kind of facial touching. Some don't care. Some are really willing and tolerate it well. But many of our students don't tolerate any kind of manipulation around the face, around the mouth, around the ears. So those students, again, they might be better served to go into a clinic where you'll have that extra support or a doctor's office. But again, if you're kind of on the fence, I don't want to say mess around with your student, but sort of desensitize them. Touch their nose, see if they tolerate that. Get a Q-tip, and even just touching the outside of their nose, the rim, the very edge. The antigen tests go pretty deep in there. They're not comfortable, but they're only for 8 to 10 seconds each nostril. So if you can build up to that, you could be able to be, hopefully you'll be able to build that tolerance up. But however, what you should do ahead of time, this is before you even open a kit, before you even start making plans, going through and just seeing how tolerant your student is of having something even placed near their nose. Especially with our younger students, even a Q-tip, because it's soft, you're not going to do any damage, but even just a Q-tip might be too large for their nostrils, depending on the nostril size. And then the last one is, we always talk about this, but gather your reinforcers ahead of time. On campus, we don't use edible reinforcers. At home, you're free to use edible reinforcers, but you might have an edible, you might have tablet time, you might have any number of things, a new toy, a game, whatever it might be, but gather those ahead of time. So you're not kind of chasing your tail once you're at the doctor's office, you're trying to set a deal and you don't have something to set a deal for. Same thing at home. Make sure you have something maybe new. This is going to be kind of an invasive test. So having something, that they get every day is probably not going to be as effective as something that's kind of special. A lot of our students, when they have their food preferences, but maybe they get, I'm just going to use Cheez-Its as an example, maybe they get Cheez-Its every day. Cheez-Its probably isn't the thing, but maybe there's something else that you guys don't normally get. For my own child, it would probably be Chick-fil-A or Popeye's chicken or some sort of, fried chicken if I was going to do a test. Candy always works. Again, on campus, we don't use edible reinforcers, but in this situation, for something that's really a health and safety concern and something we really want to get our students back on campus, you can make choices at home what to use, and we're not going to judge. We just want our students to be safe and hopefully get through these processes safely and in a healthy manner. So as far as an in-home test, this is probably going to be the little rapid test with the nasal swab. I can speak from experience. We've had a couple different swabs on campus. Some of them are a little less painful or a little less scratchy, it seems. The ones that we have right now are pretty scratchy, but I've also used a couple for me at home that aren't as bad. I don't know that you have, you might just, with the supply chain issues that we're having, you might just have to get whatever test you can. But if you do know that there's one that you've experienced that's softer, that you can get that one, that might be better for our students. I would say the one that we're using on campus for many of our staff right now is pretty scratchy and makes everyone's eyes water. Everyone starts sneezing afterward. So, maybe test that out and see what you've got there. But one of the big things you want to do, especially if you haven't given a test at home or haven't done a test on yourself, is read the test instructions before you start opening up the kit. Once you open up the kit, I think you have to use them within an hour. So if you open up the kit and get everything started, but then you realize you don't have everything else in the back end, all those other prep, all those other preparatory steps, if you haven't finished that, the kit might not work. You might not get a valid test. So what you want to do is make sure you read these test instructions, especially if it's your first time giving one or taking one even for yourself. I personally read through them every time, even though I've taken quite a few tests at home. I still read through it because it's a little bit different each time, especially with how long you keep it in the nose, how long the wait time is, all of those things. So make sure you just read through that before you get started. One thing that I would say this is going to be across every situation, whether it's a clinic or in-home, utilize social stories, other visuals. Again, I mentioned on the earlier slide, but whatever your student really utilizes and whatever they respond to, it might be social stories. It might be a first then board. It might be a visual schedule of what's going to happen. In some of the links, I think there's at least 2 links that are text-based, that are readings. They have social stories. They're not as detailed as I would like. They don't have sort of the exact, the action of putting the swab in the nose, but they have the prep for, we're going to get in the car, we're going to go to the doctor's office, there's going to be someone with a mask, all of those prep steps, the preparation leading up to the test in a clinic. So that would be something that would be good to reference. It really depends on your student and how they best respond. It might be better just to have we've talked about visuals before, but a list of 1, 2, 3. We're going to go to the doctor's office, we're going to get a nasal swab, and then we're going to go home, or we're going to go to Chick-fil-A, or we're going to go to Burger King. For the in-home, same thing. You might want to have a little list. Again, the timers might be something that would be really important, especially because it's such a short time period. It's almost going to be over before it begins. I know it's going to feel like forever. I know when I've done a test on a child, it feels like forever when you have that in there, but if you count down, if your student responds to a countdown, use the countdown. Say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Use the countdowns, use the timers, whatever you can use. Speaking of timers, that was the next on the item. And then set the deal too. You want it, and then we mentioned this before, but a strong reinforcer. You want to have something that's going to be really motivating to your child. Is it going to make it go a lot smoother? It is still going to be I don't want to say it's a painful experience, but an uncomfortable experience. We're not going to be able to change that. But if we can help the student get through it by, letting them know that they're going to, whatever it will be, watching a Disney movie or playing on the tablet or getting a food item or a toy, whatever we can do to set that deal so they know, once I finish this, then I get what I want. The other thing I didn't include in here, which I probably should have added, was allow them to hold fidgets, especially if your students are really big on holding things, holding items. Have those fidgets, the fidget spinners, the putty, whatever it might be. Also utilize if your student responds to a weighted blanket, pressure vest, any of those things ahead of time. So that's another one that I wanted to include, but I forgot to put in this list. And the last one is, this is more for us, but stay calm. It is going to be, it's not going to be easy necessarily. Maybe you are lucky and your student tolerates it very well, but it might not. It might go a little bit haywire. It might be a little hectic for a moment there, but it's going to be a short time period. Once you do that collection, it's about 15 seconds between 2 nostrils, then the student is done. Then it's on you, then you put it into the solution and mix it all up and you have your waiting period. But the actual test itself for the student part of it, it's going to be pretty short. So stay calm, do all your preparation, and set the stage to be successful for you and your student. So the clinic and office preparation, it's very similar, same thing, social stories, visuals, the timers, setting the deal, having that reinforcer. Again, I would, if you can, weighted blanket, weighted vest, pressure vest, fidgets, anything. I mean, really, we're looking at kitchen sinking this to make sure that it's successful for everyone. The nice thing about a clinic, an office situation, is you will have more hands on deck. If you are a single parent or just don't have a lot of extra help, adult help, doing an in-home test might not be successful for you. It might be virtually impossible one-on-one, but in a clinic-based testing situation, you should have a nurse or 2 nurses or possibly more, depending on who you are able to go see. If it is your student's primary care physician, neurologist office, whoever you can get to assist you through that process. If you know that it's going to be a difficult situation, it's going to help you, it's going to help your student. One note here is that some students have done better at a drive-through test site rather than in-home and in office. So be aware of that too. Some of our students, I've heard one student in particular hit for their vaccination, the shot, they did not do well in the doctor's office. The second shot, they went through a drive-through where they just poke them through the door and it worked really well. I don't know how, again, you're gonna have to assess your student, but you need to, think of that as an option. That if there is a place to get a drive-through test, I know it's a little bit difficult right now. Again, we are mid-February of 2022. The drive-through tests I know were more popular a few months ago, but now with InHome Test, it might be a little harder to find those. So if you're unable to test your student or you'd like extra support, please contact your teacher. We are here to help, and we're here to troubleshoot strategies for your student. Before we wrap up, a quick note about the links in the description, all of the resources. The first 2 are text-based. They're just one of them. The second one, I believe, is a social story. The first one is sort of preparation in general. And that one I think is more geared toward a office test. The other links are all videos. The first one I think is actually really good. It's more for parents. It's more about, it's from Autism Australia or Autism Spectrum Australia. And it's a really great sort of overview for parents. The other 3, I believe, that are at the bottom there, those are all videos that are more geared toward a student watching them, a child watching them. The problem with those is, with the population that Odyssey serves, a lot of the students aren't going to respond to that. Some of them will. There's a handful on campus that would probably really respond to one of the stories is a child telling her story of when she went to the clinic and got a COVID test. But they might not be as accessible to some of our students. So that's why I added those 4. The first one, again, is the parent, more geared toward parents. The other 3, experiment with them. They're rather short. I don't think that any of them are longer than 5 minutes, but see which one works for you. And again, as we say with all these videos, reach out to your staff, reach out to your teacher if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.